See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is Democracy Manifest. What is the charge?
Man behind iconic Australian meme dies at 82.
I'm under what? Gentlemen, see that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis!
A man responsible for one of the most viral clips in Australian history has died of cancer at the age of 82.
Eating a meal, a succulent Chinese meal.
Dramatic, theatrical, hysterical.
We're supposed to be living in a democracy, and here they're dragging me out of a restaurant.
The prison escapee and on-again, off-again petty criminal, whose best-known alias was Jack Karlson, shot to fame in 2009 after a clip of his dramatic 1991 arrest outside of a Chinese restaurant in Brisbane was uploaded to the internet and enthralled the nation.
Ah, yes. I see that you know your judo well. After enjoying halfway through a succulent Chinese meal.
What is the charge? Eating a meal, a succulent Chinese meal? Karlson theatrically shouted while resisting a string of officers. Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest and get your hands off my penis were among his other now immortalised lines.
One bloke offered me $3,000 for that if I finish it. And I'm just a poor, struggling artist.
The seminal moment has inspired thousands of memes, musical remixes, reaction videos, and even a few tattoos. Democracy Manifest is also the name of a purebred Australian racehorse.
To a succulent Chinese. I won't say ta-ta and farewell. I'll say auf Wiedersehen, I love yous all.
Karlson, who has been battling prostate cancer in recent years, had captivated the nation's media again in June after he reunited with one of the policemen, Stalwart, who had arrested him that fateful day to announce an upcoming documentary into his obscure and colorful life. Although he was a convicted criminal, Karlson has always maintained that the 1991 incident was a case of mistaken identity. They thought I was some international gangster, he said at the time. Typical police grabbing you. If they can put something on you, they'll do it. In a recent interview with ABC News, Karlson described his long life as one of adventure. It reportedly included 3 jailbreaks, multiple run-ins with authorities, and even a period as one of Brisbane's most prolific restaurant dine-in dashers. Those who knew him, though, said his childhood was akin to a Charles Dickens tragedy, describing a youth spent in and out of care homes and government institutions. Tributes have flooded social media following the news of his passing. Sad news, Mr. Democracy Manifest has died. The cultural icon, whose arrest inspired 1,000 t-shirts and millions of downloads, has advanced cancer. Chris Reason, the reporter who covered the now infamous squabble, wrote on X, "His immortal words will echo through generations." Mr. Watt, who formed a close relationship with Karlson since their reunion, remembered the 82-year-old as a larger-than-life figure with a big heart. "It's a sad day for Australia. We've just lost a true colorful character," he told the ABC. Karlson, although there are debates as to whether this was his real name or one of many aliases, was a serial prison escaper and small-time crook who shot to fame in 2009 after a news clip of his arrest at a Chinese restaurant in Brisbane's Fortitude Valley in 1991 was uploaded onto the internet. Chris Reason, the Channel 7 journalist who reported Karlson's arrest 33 years ago, paid tribute to Karlson on social media site X, tweeting that, "Mr. Democracy Manifest has died." Karlson died surrounded by family at 6:31 p.m. on Wednesday. He walked a full and colorful path and, despite the troubles thrown at him, he lived by his motto, "To keep on laughing," his family said in statements. Niece Kim Edwards said Karlson spent the last few weeks of his life in hospital, where he had a few attempts to escape and pulled his cords out a couple of times and asked us multiple times to sneak in his pipe. Edwards said her uncle was battling many ailments, but what got him in the end was systemic inflammatory response syndrome. As a final send-off, we gave Uncle a last taste of red wine through his drip just before it was removed, she said. Karlson died the day after his 82nd birthday, or at least it was the most recent one of the birthdays he claimed to filmmaker Heath Davis, who is making a documentary on Karlson's life. "This is the legit one," Davis said, or so I'm told. Davis said he also learned the most recent alias, Karlson, was really Cecil George Edwards, was going by in the last years of his life. and though he is not currently at liberty to reveal it, Davis said it was not Jack Karlson. Let's just say John, Davis said. The filmmaker is expecting huge amounts of other information about Karlson's life will be revealed in after his death. And it won't just be about names and dates. He and authors including Mark Dapin had already uncovered stories of Karlson's prison escapes that are said to include picking the lock cuffing him to a sleeping officer and leaping from a moving train and swimming off a prison island just before being rescued by a benevolent fisher. But Karlson's life was far from just a rollick. His boyhood was spent in institutions rife with sexual predators and bullies, and his varied stints in Australia's most notorious jails included time in the Black Peter solitary confinement of Bogle Road Jail, the cruelty of which was medieval when he was still a teenager. A regular person who experienced this life would have passed away years ago, Davis said. But Jack just has this zest for life that made you go, this guy is made of mercury, he might just live forever. Among old friends and foes reunited with Karlson in the making of Davis' documentary was Stoll Watt, a senior sergeant and the then Special Weapons and Operations Squad who happened to be driving through the valley on the now famous day in 1991 when the call came through for support in an arrest. Watt said there are many different versions of what occurred that day. His own is detailed in a yet-to-be-published book. One thing Watt does not deny, though, is Karlson's charisma. He was some sort of trained actor, he learned that in prison, but he was also a natural showman, Watt said. He bluffed his way out of a court in Sydney, said he was a detective, and to do that he must have been a very confident showman and a bit of a conman as well. Among Karlson's cons, Watt said, was the now famous line Karlson wore during the arrest when he declared, "Get your hands off my penis." All it was I was arresting him out of the restaurant and there was a step and he tripped a little bit and, to help him up, my hand grabbed him lower down on the thigh, Watt said. He said I grabbed him by the thing, but I was nowhere near it. Still, Watt bears Karlson no ill will and enjoyed meeting him once again last year at Karlson's hideout near Esk somewhere in the mountains of southeast Queensland. He said to me that I was the only copper he never hated, Watt said. He called me comrade and he said, come up and spend the night with me and we'll have a few, he calls it, the juice of red grapes. Karlson was a very good wordsmith, Watt said, adding the man he once arrested would have been a millionaire had he been able to trademark the phrases he coined that have now entered the modern Australian lexicon. Yet it is through these words that Jack Karlson or Cecil George Edwards or John X will live in posterity. Though Davis said the subject of his film, for all his sins, hardly a tech-savvy man, was for a long time naive to his online renown and, perhaps, never fully appreciated it. He is folklore and doesn't even know it, Davis said.